Welcome to our 119th podcast with our special guest, Dr. Emi Barresi. Today we're talking about the agentic workforce and human times tech teaming. What's one thing you can do to maintain human centricity in your use of technology? Keep listening to find out. Welcome to Harmonious Workplaces, a podcast about corporate culture, organizational change management, and workplace behavior. Harmonious Workplaces was started by independent consultants to explore and challenge workplace issues and to build better ways of working. It's a blend of theory and practice, grounded in real-world experience, working with organizations of all sizes across a wide range of industries. If you own a business, lead a team, want fresh ideas about the workplace, or just enjoy listening to consultants talk candidly about how to make work more effective and more enjoyable, we invite you to sit back, relax, and dive in with us to Harmonious Workplaces. Hello, Harmonious Workplaces listeners. Welcome back to our podcast. I'm Rich Cruz, an organizational development consultant, and this is Ben Kleiman, our resident change guru or CCMP. Hey, Ben, how are you?
Hey, Rich. Hey, everyone.
And
I think you keep going with these intros, and by the end of the summer or the beginning of the fall, I'll be like King George or
That's
something
right.
like that.
You will be King George, and then and then you'll have to abdicate or whatever they happen to.
Oh my goodness.
But we are so happy on this very, very, very sweltering hot Chicago morning, and this heat is nothing compared to what is happening in Texas. And speaking of Texas, we have Dr. Emi Barresi. Emi, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you so much. And you are so right. We are having some sweltering days here. But
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I actually love the heat more than I would ever tolerate the cold. So
Okay.
I'll take this side of it. I will take this side of it. Not a cold weather girl. Once it hits 70, I've got a whole coat on. So
Oh wow.
Yeah, we're still in shorts. Well, Emi,
Dr. Barresi, do you guys just take your pancake batter and put it, like, spoon it out onto your porch and just let it make your pancakes right on your porch?
You know, we probably could do something like that. We do have sun tea. I remember growing up with sun tea where we would put it outside in the pitcher and yeah. So I'm sure we could do that with pancakes. We might have to give it a shot and let you know how it goes.
You know, that's interesting. I mean, because small thing. My grandma my mom was born in Corpus Christi, and I learned how to make sun tea as a kid.
Oh, fun!
Very sweet sun tea. My grandma used to pour the sugar in.
Yes, it's equal parts water and sugar. Yes,
that's right. Yes. Lots of Kool-Aid and sun tea in the 80s. So, Emi, thanks a million for coming on the show. Can you introduce us to yourself? Right. I mean, so you have Hearth, right? And love to hear about that. But I know you've been working in the tech space for a long time, and today we're going to be talking about some AI and the agentic workforce. And just give us a little bit of your background, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for that. So Hearth, I guess I'll start there and kind of work backwards a little bit. Yeah. It stands for the Human Ethics Approach for Remote and Tech Hybrid Teams. And remote is in there very intentionally. Actually, my doctoral program, my initial focus was remote teaming first. And as I did a lot of research, I recognized that the same leadership competencies that made virtual leaders successful was also making leaders successful for what I've called tech hybrid teams, which is in the name, right? So tech hybrid teams are those who have an agent or a robot or some other technology really either operating in a human-like way on the team or as a critical component of the team, which, you know, is also remote teams. They need all of your tooling to be able to work virtually as well, right? So you need your computer, your software, collaboration software, means of communication, a place to store documentation, right? And so all of those components are the tech hybrid part of the remote team.
Yeah.
And so it was really awesome to see this emerge as I went through the research on what made leaders effective. And that's really been my focus area is leadership and team leadership, even more specifically, but leadership as a whole more generally. And so last 20 years have been two what I thought were parallel tracks in life. I was leading all these amazing tech development teams. We did hardware, software, services, most recently data and analytics. So all of these teams doing these incredible development opportunities across, at this point, even up to Fortune 4 organizations.
Wow.
And it's been really cool to build these products. But in parallel, what's happening is industrial and organizational psychology education. And so these last three, I know, exactly, it's so exciting. And these last 3 years have really been this interweaving of these two worlds as we are bringing technology to teams and to organizations in just this incredibly robust way that we never really have before in terms of allowing them to be decision makers, allowing them to provide the cognition on the team, allowing them to, and humanizing them to be team members. And not just, AI, we'll talk about that, I'm sure, today, but robotics as well has been part of this journey for us, humanoid robots, right? Or both in our personal landscape, but I'm more interested, obviously, in the workforce landscape. But they've been integrated in our life. I don't have one yet, but even robot vacuum cleaners that are like reading your floor plan, right? So we've done this a lot.
I can't remember. I can't remember the name, but my wife definitely named ours. I can't remember it now, but yes. And
yeah,
if nothing else, it gives you something to swear at when it's not in the right place.
Exactly.
So if I get a Roomba, am I off the hook? The family will just start swearing at the Roomba and not me. If the house isn't clean.
Let us know how that goes.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Well, we'll save that experiment for another day.
Sure.
But Dr. Emi, I love that where you're going with this idea of tech as a teammate. I think that's really cool, and acknowledging that and seeing how we can make that better.
Can I ask a question about that? Have you, in your experience, seen where we're seeing, and I'm not sure if it's on the leadership level, if it's on the management level, but where we are allowing the artificial intelligence, the robots, whatever that tech is, right? Even the software itself, to like you were saying before, to not only make the decisions, but actually enact things without that human element to it. Have you?
Oh, yeah. I see that absolutely. And that's honestly what I advocate pretty highly against. So that the human ethics part, the HE, is that human-centered piece of it. So to me, the human times machine means human is multiplied, right? Human is amplified in that sort of a team construction. And absolutely, there are many organizations going the other way. And that's really what the crux of my work, right, is to advocate against the replacement narrative or eliminating that human decision maker, the human integrator in that. Even recently, I went to the airport in San Francisco for Human Tech Week. And, I was really fascinated by this robotic cafe. It was literally just a robot that was doing all of the coffee making. And my flight was early. It was a 5 a.m. flight. I needed coffee. I thought, okay, this is an opportunity to see what it's all about. It had novelty for about 10 seconds. And then I missed my barista and I missed the customization options or the ability to ask. They had really interesting flavors. I had no idea what they were. I did not know what coffee was going to taste like. And I can't ask someone and get this really, human response, right?
Yeah, right, for sure. Can we do this? Can we take a quick? Oh, go ahead, Ben. What were you?
Well, maybe I'll tee this up,
Please.
And Dr. Emi, you can talk about it after the break. I'm curious if you've seen in your work exploring leadership and technology and leadership in technology, if you've seen a shift or a change in what types of leadership styles tend to work better, or leadership values that tend to work better as things become different in this world of tech?
Yeah.
Maybe when we come back, we can dig in.
Yeah.
Okay. Ben, you're going to have to tee that up again when we come back. We'll be right back.
Oh, hi. I'm Hermie, the HR hermit crab. So, if you've ever sat in a meeting thinking, are we all talking about the same thing? I have a book that might feel very familiar. In my third cartoon book, Trust Fall Pratfalls, you'll find a collection of short, funny workplace moments. The kind that make you laugh and then immediately think, yeah, we do that. We cover things like unclear priorities, communication that somehow creates more confusion, leaders who mean well but miss the mark, and employees trying to make sense of it all. It's basically a highlight reel of how the heck did this happen? But each story also contains evidence based, valuable information such as simple ways to communicate better, practical ways to support your team, and small changes that make work a little more, well, workable. You can finish each story in just a couple of minutes and actually use the lessons the next day. Plus, it's a cartoon book, so you can leave it on your desk and be the envy of all your cubicle mates. Check out Hermie the HR Hermit Crab Trust Fall Pratfalls, available now on Amazon. Visit www.hermiehrhermitcrab.com or www.harmoniousworkplaces.com/Hermie. Oh, and if you see your workplace in here, maybe don't read it out loud in the next staff meeting. Make change your friend. Bye.
And we're back. Ben, you left us on a cliffhanger. Give it to us again so we can dive into that.
I was just curious, since we have the expert on the show, what kinds of things, Dr. Emi, you've been seeing in terms of as technology has evolved, has leadership evolved? Has leadership styles, have they changed? Have leadership values changed? How has leadership in practice changed as tech has changed? What's kind of worked really well that you've seen in that way, or what's not changing in the way it should maybe?
Right. So thanks for the question. Leadership is definitely the passion part of the work that I do. So I guess first, you mentioned, the tech space or in the tech space. The leaders that are really successful in the tech space allow exploration, experimentation, adapting quickly. There are even frameworks, very common in the tech space is the Agile framework, but that allow as the part of the process, that sort of adaptation happening along the way
Sure.
in iterative ways, right? And but it's to allow that exploration, the feedback, and the ability to quickly respond when you're developing something based on your user feedback or your customers' feedback or your stakeholders. That could be like organizational leaders too, not just only customers, right?
Sure.
But that's real. So I would say yes in the tech space but also this concept of human-centric leadership is overarching to lots of different markets, lots of different industries. It doesn't change the underlying need for leadership. So you think about something like military or policing even, where that hierarchy actually does matter, where you are in very critical situations where if I tell you, Rich, this is what you need to be doing right now, you need to be listening to me because it is life or death, literally, right?
Yeah, it is command and control largely. Yeah,
Yes.
that part.
Yeah. And then that needs to remain for a lot of these roles, right? Hospital rooms, the doctor must have the final say as the surgeon, right? The nursing staff supports the head of that room. So that doesn't go away. But this concept of human-centric leadership, as we are, the surgical room, we're integrating surgical robots that have precision that human hands don't necessarily have, but they don't have discernment or experience in the way a surgeon would, right? And so that's where the human-centered piece of the evolution is coming, that we really do need to respect and understand what the human experience is, regardless of industry. It doesn't change the underlying competencies needed for these areas of leadership, but it is the overarching or the umbrella over the leaders and over the teams that says we have to respect, have compassion and empathy for those on our team. There are roles changing. There may be some that will be obsolete. Are we going to choose to upskill or reskill the workforce, or are we going to not care about humans at all? Like, those are things that are overlaying the other leadership styles. So they're not going away. And I think that's something that I want to make sure to highlight, because there are different leadership styles that are really effective in different roles and markets and industries.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, so if we look at that full range leadership model from laissez-faire to, the top end of transformational leadership, I can't remember exactly what that one was called, but where you're modeling the way, right?
Mhm.
But along that spectrum, like, we still need management by uh the
Objectives.
oh boy, I can't remember it. It's when you get in there when you need to, and then you get out,
By
right? Well,
exception.
exception. Thank you. There you go. By exception. Yes, management by
Ding, ding, ding,
exception,
ding, ding, ding.
active and passive. And then of course the rewards. The rewards section is kind of in the middle there. But I'm glad that you're saying that, yes, there's a place for all of this, right? But leading with that empathy part and enabling others, right? Which is what I think that
Mhm.
what you were saying there, right? That remains to be the core of this hearth model. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The very center of the model, so it's 7 elements, but the very middle of it is what I call human-centric ethics. Yeah, and it is an ethical posture that really does care about the contributions and the values of people and the people on your team and what they bring to the table. And all of the rest are really meant to amplify the human part of us. I think about now as I'm aging, my brain is not like working the same way that it always used to. And I've been very frustrated with myself. And I've had to adopt that posture towards myself, right? Like, I mean, you're literally a human. Like, this happens as you age. Sometimes the brain is not as astute as it used to be. And you have to give yourself that same compassion and empathy as you have given to others when they're going through their humanness. And so it's actually been this practice even for myself to recognize, where can I use the resources around me? Where can I delegate, right? What can I do to help serve the human part of me, which, I've heard this term recently and I hate it, but I'm going to use it anyway. I'm like, I'm the meat bag part of me. Like, I'm a human, right? Like, I'm literally a meat bag. And so, like, I have to recognize that I am not some like superhuman. And I've told my family that I was on a flight back, and actually, I think it was from San Francisco. And I was watching this episode of The Simpsons, and Bart and Lisa were supposed to go buy their mom a gift for her birthday. Well, they ended up like buying themselves something and getting the free ironing board cover for their mom as the gift. And she's like, oh, okay. And she's like in her backyard crying after this, talking to Ned Flanders in the backyard. And she's like, I'm not a robot. I just want my family to care. And I just thought, oh my gosh, how many times have I said this to myself? I'm not a robot. Like, relax. I am a human. And I just really loved that episode. I tried to screen record it, but apparently they had the tech where you couldn't, you couldn't screen record it. And so it's just the audio on this little clip. But I really, it just really, it resonated with me. I just thought, Emi, you're not a robot. I've said this to myself many times. I have to give myself also that compassion and empathy. And so it's, really having that sort of like, we're humans and we all understand that there is this shared inner experience, although we have so many diverse facets to who we are culturally, even physically, right? Like, we are immensely, beautifully different, each of us.
Sure.
But there's something that is uniquely the same about humanity, right? And so, and we all experience the aging process. We'll all experience certain things along the way, whether it's sadness, joy, championing, all these things that are so uniquely human. And I think that to me is the important part of remembering that in the leadership space, who you're going to bring to the table at that table as a whole person. We've, historically in the workplace often tried to even advocate for like, oh, leave your home life at home. But I mean, your brain is bringing it, your heart is bringing it, right? Like you're bringing your whole self.
Yeah, the old theory of the cogs in the wheel. I cannot remember who had that theory, but that's been thrown out since before we went into organizational psychology, right? So.
Right. No, I think it's really top of mind for a lot of folks. This idea that you just can't separate work and non-work. That
Right.
people bring their full selves, and that sometimes includes a lot of baggage, and you have to recognize that and help people manage that. And sometimes it includes a lot of great energy, and you have to take that and harness it. And it's just impossible. Like you said, we're people. We're not robots. You can't just carve off that part of the program. That
Right.
part of the software.
Right.
You have to embrace the whole. And I love this. I think we have to get T-shirts, Rich, of Hermie or some other character that says something about "I am a meat bag" or whatever that is.
Exactly. No, gosh. Though, as you mentioned that, though, what really came to mind was this is why it is so important to be human-centric when we are bringing in AI or robots, because they don't have the shared inner experience that humans do.
Right.
And it is truly a point of distinction that needs to be made. And I think there are a lot of blurring of lines. In fact, research shows that people are seeking more and more compassion and empathy from your chatbots or your.
Yeah,
and
Than they
that
do from
interpersonal
than they do
relations
from
with
other
them.
people.
Yes,
Wow.
which means we people are doing something really wrong, right? Like if people are not coming to us for compassion and empathy and connection, and they are instead going to your companion robots or to your chatbots for
thing.
emotional support, right? Exactly. So it's been an evolutionary process for humans where we got, first it was the TV that we got kind of hooked to, and then the laptops and the phones, and so it's naturally on that arc of like, okay, we're going to connect to that, but what are we doing wrong as humans, and how do we change that trajectory to be more present, to be more available and compassionate and empathetic to other people, in a world that's sending a million other messages on your news feeds and your Facebook feeds, very curated for engagement, right? So they know exactly what's going to keep you there the longest and what's going to make you click. And
For sure.
it's an interesting dynamic. There's definitely a disconnect happening somewhere there.
Yeah. Is that part of where you go with that human times tech? Is trying to figure out how to get the best of both while keeping humans centered and maintaining some of whatever makes humans human, and
Yes.
maintain that?
Yeah, absolutely. It is intended to amplify the parts of us that are human and bringing that into the workforce. The human can multiply lots of things. We used the example earlier of the surgical robot. There is a precision to these robotics that perhaps human hands may not have, but that doesn't mean the surgeon doesn't need to be overseeing the surgery happening, right? They have the experience, they've gotten wisdom from their residency, from working with other physicians throughout the years, been able to see hundreds, thousands of patients, right? And build this repository of human knowledge, this context knowledge that your robot will just not really have in that moment, and it will not be able to think that way. That's a very clinical example, but it can you can use that in any other workforce. I have agents on my team at Hearth, a couple of them as well, and humans. And the reason for the agents was to where did we not have certain skill sets? Where could we amplify what we were missing, or fill in some of the gaps and deficits that we had in our teaming with an agent? Yeah. And so that's that. I'm going to multiply human operations by recognizing where we don't have capabilities yet, or where someone else can be really boosted by an agent. And for us, that was a personal assistant for me because I just needed it. But the other one is CRM. Like that's just not a capability that we really had. And I can use an agent to help manage the CRM, where the people that are really working with me have not had a robust amount of experience doing the CRM side of it.
Sure.
And sales for that matter, because my dad did sales when I was growing up. And I actually have an Al Bundy Funko pop up here because he did show sales. He like literally was a shoe salesman. He did, and so I've got this this Al Bundy Funko pop up here, and in memory of my dad. But that part of it for me was like I'm not a seller, right? I'm not that. So how do I use something that's going to help do this operation that I know I need behind the scenes, where no one that's on my team it wants to do the sales, like nobody. And there are many amazing sales people out there. Don't get me wrong. Some people love it. My dad loved sales. Like he had a business degree and he was an athlete in the former life and still he loved sales. Like that was his thing. He just was a schmoozer. And I loved my dad or love him still. But he was the best at that, at what he did, but that's not me. And so I can use that tech to fill in this gap on my team and help the people who would be drained by this work, myself included, if that was going to be what we were doing on a day-to-day basis. We need it, right?
Sure.
But we are drained by it. So how can we use tech to amplify the things that are draining to the people on the team? That is one really great use case that we found.
Sure. Can we do this? Can I ask two things? The first one is, before we go to a break, when we come back, can we talk about the ethics portion of this again? Because I have a few questions about that. But the second question I have to ask is that you live in the land of barbecue. And so did your dad clean the grill? Because Al Bundy did not clean the grill. And that was the secret to his.
I was going to say, no, who cleans their grill?
It's like that was the secret of his success.
It's the flavor. It's the flavor, right? That's where you get all the flavor. It's like the cast iron, like you reseason it.
It's just like cast iron. You don't really, yeah.
That's right. All right. Good on you, Al Bundy. Okay. All right, folks, we'll be right back. At Harmonious Workplaces, we believe work should provide purpose, satisfaction, and growth. We empower people to thrive by fostering environments where individuals can find meaning in their work and organizations can succeed through thoughtful, well-executed strategies. We're committed to making work better for the people who do it and the leaders who guide them. To discover how Harmonious Workplaces can impact your organization, visit www.harmoniousworkplaces.com and book a free 30-minute information session with one of our consultants today. Again, that's www.harmoniousworkplaces.com. And we're back. So, Emi, before we wrap up the show, I got to ask about the ethics part, because you and I especially, be just from the psychological background, right? There's the APA code of ethics, right? Which is 5 principles, and then there's those other addendums on there, right? So, but it all kind of just boils down to beneficence, non-maleficence, doing harm or not doing harm, and providing benefit, responsibility, fidelity, those respect, those aspects of it. How does your view of ethics with regard to working in this agentic workforce, how does that differ or augment or change what we know as ethics? And by the way, I mean, Ben, you live by a code of ethics through ACMP and through your MBA and all that stuff too, right? So there's not to say that we don't all live by that, but I just that code of ethics when I was at Purdue was just every single course had that in it. Mm-hmm. I'm just curious, how does your view of this get changed through your work?
Yeah, so The definition of what, or I guess the center part, right, is human-centric ethics. And so not that it's a change really, but it is an explicit call out that the ethics that we maintain in an organization as we are integrating emerging technologies or even those that exist right now must remain ones that are human-centric. And what I mean by that is acknowledging and amplifying the value of people. And that is not what all organizations are doing right now with AI implementation. So I want to make that very like loud call out. When I was in San Francisco, there was you've probably seen these advertisements, but they're on plastered on whole buses where it says "Stop hiring humans." Right? It's an AI
Oh, yes.
tool. Yeah, it's a purple advertisement, but it's on buses and it's on these massive billboards and it's plastered everywhere. This other narrative, which is that the human is easily replaceable. The human is of no value, right? Even though it's not explicitly what it's saying, it's certainly the underlying message of these advertisements.
Sure.
One in London Heathrow Airport that says, "She'll never ask for a raise," is what it says. And it kind of bothered me that they used the she, but we'll move on from that. And it absolutely to me mind boggling that this is the narrative we're seeing in advertisement while not acknowledging what the underlying messaging here really is. And so the ethics part for me, what is this technology doing to people? People is your end user, people is your employee, people is society at large, even if you're a massive company like a Meta, right? Or OpenAI. What is this technology doing to people? And if you're never taking that moment of assessment when you're developing and deploying and building out, if you're never actually intentionally taking a moment to say, I'm going to explicitly understand the impact to all people that my tool, my implementation is going to have, then you probably don't know the answer to that. You don't necessarily know if you are operating ethically, if you're never actually looking at that. And I think that's the biggest advocate moment that I have for organizations. There are frameworks I use to help organizations do that, but from the heart posture, the heart side, it is, have you looked at this? Have you understood, crawled out in your space of your tech and figured out, how is this affecting my team members? Are they in fear? Are they, disengaging? Are they being harmed by this? Maybe we have a technology that's actually disconnecting people more and there's harm happening. They're lonely. Maybe surveillance is literally making them sick. I've heard a story from a gentleman who during COVID, his organization implemented surveillance tech on their computers. And he literally got sick from this. He was afraid to go to the bathroom. He didn't want them to remote it on the video when he was sitting away and then have to explain that he went to the restroom. He was a really reserved guy, a hard worker, but he was like, it's embarrassing if I had to tell somebody, like, sorry, I was in the restroom. And I can understand that. It was making him sick to be surveilled at such a deep level. So if we're, and to me, that's not human-centric ethics. So,
Right.
there are other ethical codes, like you're mentioning, as far as not doing harm, amplifying good, all of those things, that it's not a sidestep from that, but it is a purposeful and intentional look in and outward of what we're doing to people when we're doing this. Because some of those things we can, we've got someone that we know that says, oh, just because you can't, you can do it doesn't mean you should. But it's even more than that. It is, I must understand the impact if I'm actually going to be able to say I'm doing things ethically. If you're not looking at that, then you have no idea. Like you can guess maybe, but
For sure.
I love that. And I'm sorry, Rich, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
There must be something, Dr. Emi, that must be something that's got to be continuous about that. It can't be a one and done is maybe what I'm trying to say, because tech is evolving so much and how we respond to it is evolving, and what might be scary at first might become beloved at some point. And then maybe it's okay if that's part of our lives, and vice versa. It might seem great, but then it becomes a little bit nefarious. And so is that part of it, that you have to have that inward and outward look and that assessment on some kind of a cadence?
Yeah, absolutely. So the question, what is this decision doing to people, or how is this a decision impacting people as we evolve? It must always be asked, continuously be asked. Absolutely. And the way that we develop technology already has that embedded a moment of pause iteratively to do that reflection point. But teams that don't develop tech, that are implementing tech, don't have always that natural pause point. We call it a retrospective in our space of tech development. That
Sure.
Yeah.
Good.
yeah. So
And
for all
agile,
intents and
right? Yeah.
yes, in
Yeah.
the agile framework, we have that intentional pause every 1 to 3 weeks. Usually, that 2 week cadence point. That's pretty often to do a reflective conversation as a team. And I highly advocate for one of the hard elements is a culture of innovation and adaptability. The adaptability part there is that pause, reflect, adapt, not just change with the winds and put on the
Sure.
coat when it turns 70, right? Like that's me adapting. But but
Right.
it is not just responsive in that sense, it's reflective. And I think that's something that teams need to be implementing more and more as reflection points.
I love that.
And
It's
you
not
know,
just responsive, it's reflective. That's great.
yeah, yeah. It's intentional. Reflective is intentional. Like that's what the intent
Mhm.
of responding, right, to the change in a way that you've cognitively assessed, and maybe even emotionally assessed. That's
Sure.
something that I think my teams really value about me. I when I was in fourth grade, I got this ornament, and it had an adjective with a name or with the same first letter as your name started with. So it could say Rock and Rick, right, or
Uh-huh.
Bang and Ben, right? It could say something like really really cool. But mine said emotional and my full name, Eminelli, emotional Eminelli. And of course, I fall on the floor crying, and I'm like, I'm not emotional, thus proving her point. And so I like totally am, but I learned to harness this, right? And this is what my teams actually really value about me. I'm not just like fall on the floor crying girl. If you want someone to champion your latest win, I'm the first ping, right? Like, hey, Emmy, guess what? This happened, right? Like, because they know that I'm going to bring out the streamers and the confetti and like all of these
I've
things. Like,
personally witnessed this myself. It's just in our friendship. So yes,
Really?
I can definitely
it's
attest. I get a text when something nice happens, and Emmy's like, "Oh,
Oh,
yes, it's
cool.
like it's truly like that emotional part of you, but that's the human part of us. Like that
yeah,
is the connection part of us. That is like, oh my gosh, I know that I want to see, and not that I'm perfect at this, I promise, but I want to see every person on the other end of whatever I'm doing, wherever I am, because we all bring value to the table. We
sure,
all bring something truly incredible and amazing to the table. And that's really, I think, when leaders adopt that posture, when they look at the people they've got on their team and they see the beautiful experience that they're bringing, the person that they are, the emotions they bring, the perspectives they have, all of these things. Gosh, when you sit at a table of 10 people, like holy moly, the powerhouse that 10 people is, right? Of just what they bring to the table, you would never be able to stop mapping all of the things that have happened to them, and thus what they can bring to a reflection point, even, and how they can help move the needle in a way that how many people do those 10 people know? Like, how many people have they touched in their lives?
yeah,
And how they have they learned from, whether it's teachers, children, parents, grandparents, neighbors, right? Gosh, it's incredible if we think about what it really means to like care about people and amplify what they're bringing to the table. Man, if we could do that right,
oh,
we would be
super, absolutely,
we would be awesome, right? Now,
yeah,
many of us are doing it wrong because we're sitting here like this most of the time, but
oh, right, for sure, yeah."
myself included. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I catch myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, why have I been on this phone for 10 minutes? Let me get off.
Perfect. Well, Emmy, we're coming up to the end here. And how can people learn more about Hearth? How can they contact you? Give us a little bit of how can we get more so we can help
Yeah.
the workplaces.
So hearthteamleadership.com is the website that has lots of information and continually being updated with things like case studies as well. There's a link to our health podcast. It's the Human Ethics Leadership podcast as well there. That I'm inviting Rich on, hopefully soon to come in and talk about some things.
Great.
And really, really excited about kind of getting that one going as well. But I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm not a big social media fan at all, but LinkedIn is definitely my space. So you can find me, I think I'm the only Dr. Emi Barresi on LinkedIn.
That's
think.
probably right. Yes,
I think so.
The one and only.
The one, The Power of Only. There's a book out there called that.
There you go.
And so that's how you can connect with me. And the website is, we're trying to update it with more information that's really free resources for some of this how to do things. And there's also ways to contact me on there as well for anyone who wants to learn how to apply it. But I'm big on the practical, the frameworks, the processes. How can we actually implement all these wonderful, fluffy ideas, right? Well, you've got to have some actual ways, right? And so the website's got some things that are free out there for folks to use.
Awesome. Fantastic. You'll also find Emi at the Society of Evidence-Based Organizational Consulting, CBOC, right? So the Work Cookie podcast. And then you've just been jet setting all over the place lately, like speaking at all these different places. So bravo. That's
Thank you.
Cool.
It's human-centric in its own right, because I've had all this experience on stages as a singer in a past life.
That's right.
So I'm using the human experience I've had and I'm bringing it to a completely different setting.
And you're still singing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I am still singing sometimes.
Yes, right.
That's so cool.
We love that.
You guys, you should have said something. We could have had Dr. Emi sing the intro.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. It's a little early for that. The voice is still kicking on, right?
All right. We'll give you a pass this time, but next time.
Next time. No, just next time. It's like a Melissa Etheridge bluesy, like Tracy Chapman bluesy type voice. So if you need that be the intro, I'll do some practice.
Goodness.
I can't wait.
Oh, I can't wait.
We've got to do something human-centric sometime here with
I love that.
Ben and I did something about the arts at the ACMP Midwest conference, and we're looking at doing a few more things.
Mm-hmm.
We always love talking with people who are doing that. As well.
Yeah. No, I am all about the vocal space. So I'm using that skill in different ways now, but man, I've loved the stage. That's for sure in a past life.
Cool.
Doc, is there one thing that you might recommend, kind of as we start to wrap up, that people look at in terms of how to maintain that human-centric component when they're implementing a change, or when they're building a team, or restructuring an organization? Is there one thing that people should think about or work on?
So two things, not necessarily just one. The second one really will help with the first one. Systems thinking, I think, is really important to make sure that people are understanding everything is interconnected, universally for that matter, right? But everything is interconnected in some way. So organizations cannot make a decision in HR that will not impact finance, or finance cannot not impact tech. Like there's some link somewhere everywhere. And so as we think about implementing tech, that system integration, that tool integration, that agent integration, or even the transformation that people are trying to have is going to impact a system. And that system is probably large and larger than people even recognize.
Sure.
And so, there's this kind of abstract of systems thinking, but there really are other like practical tools to do this, and the way you analyze, right? Pestle, Sepal, there's a lot of different ways to make sure you're looking at everything.
Yep.
But at the core, make sure you are understanding the system. And kind of the booster to that is intentionality. So, intentionally is really, I guess, the one thing. Like, ensure you are looking at the system intentionally. That might be regular cadence. That might be, making sure it's part of your conversation. That might be making sure that everybody on your team understands how to examine the impact it's having and the cause and effect of what they're doing. But yeah, please look at everything. We are used to being in this silo. There's a picture of an elephant out there, and it's got all these doctors, medical doctors all around it. And, they're looking at, one of them's looking at the tail and they're like, oh, it's a rope, and one of them's looking at the ear and it's like, oh, it's something, whatever, like it's something else, right? Or the trunk, it's a hose, right? Or whatever it is, right? And so if you're not looking at the whole thing, you are missing the big picture and the big impact. And so I love that illustration because, man, how many times do we see organizations like seeing a hole in the other end of the boat saying, it's not my problem.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Yes. Look at that.
It's the beauty of silos.
Yeah.
Organizational silos.
For sure.
Compartmentalization, which we were just talking about before, earlier in the podcast, about how people bring their whole selves to work. And so why would you think an organization would be any different?
Absolutely.
Right.
Sure.
Yes.
And Ben is talking about intentionality and purpose and has been saying that since our first episode together. Yeah.
I feel like in some ways it's the kind of thing, like you both had kids, like you always have to say, please clear your dishes, or, pick up your room, or whatever it is.
Sure.
It's just, it's the drum that just never goes out of style.
That's
You're
right.
just beating it all the time.
Right on. Cool. Well, thanks a million, Emi, for joining us on this this podcast.
Thank you.
We love to keep talking with you, and I can't wait to be on yours, and maybe we'll have you back again.
I can't wait to hear you sing.
Well, hopefully it's at 7 a.m. the next time, my time.
Right.
My voice is just like waking up then. I used to do vocal lessons at 10 a.m. and I hated it.
All right. Well, maybe we'll have a Saturday night 11:30 blues podcast or something like that.
Perfect. Sounds fantastic.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you folks for joining us for this 119th episode of our podcast. And thank you, Emi, for joining us. And as always, make change your friend. Thanks for listening to Harmonious Workplaces. You can find all episodes, resources, and ways to connect with us at www.harmoniousworkplaces.com. If you enjoyed the show, we'd love your feedback. Please rate, review, share, and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. And don't forget to add Harmonious Workplaces to your favorites so you're notified when new episodes are released. Again, visit us at www.harmoniousworkplaces.com.